The views and opinions expressed in this podcast by the host and or the guest do not necessarily reflect the views of the host and or Paranormal Buzz Radio and or its sponsors. Use of any material produced by Paranormal Buzz Radio without express written consent is prohibited. Paranormal Buzz Radio will not be held responsible for you holding your knees, crying, and rocking in a corner in a puddle of your own urine, or being beheaded by a group of children in the cornfield. In fact, if you come across a group of children in a cornfield, we promise to make fun of you as you run away screaming in terror. Listener discretion is advised.
You're listening to RAP Paranormal and Friends with your hosts,
Kim Purvis
and Allison Robinson. Make sure to check us out on our Facebook pages, RAP Paranormal and Friends and RAP Paranormal Busters, for up-to-date show information and events. Hey everyone, welcome to RAP Paranormal and Friends. Have a special guest for you. It's a little bit of a different topic we haven't really touched on before, so this is going to be a very awesome show for you to listen to. Today we have Janine Lowe. She is an expert in Fensghui and Chinese astrology, and she uses that to help people with their everyday lives, wealth, relationships, etc. And she also has a new book called Date, Love, Marry, Avoid, Find Your Soulmate. So please welcome Janine to the show. Thank you for being on.
Hi. Yeah.
All right. So let's kind of jump into this. How did you become interested in Chinese astrology and Feng Shui?
Okay, so the story starts with being an intuitive as a child, growing up with that in a Catholic religion and being shut down by my mother. So, I mean, that's where it starts. So I had to find something, and I got into my 20s, and one of my best friends said to me, "Have you ever looked into Feng Shui?" And I was like, because I love buildings, yeah. So I went into Feng Shui and started to learn about it, which obviously is using the energies of the house to make things happen for you. And then around 2003, I came across a guy called Joey Yap. He's a very young guy from Kuala Lumpur. And I saw him in London, and he started talking about Chinese astrology, and it started to make sense to me. Yeah, because in Chinese astrology, it's worked with metaphysics, and it's like 1 and 1 makes 2. So for someone who's an intuitive and an empath, it was quite nice to be able to have something that you could hide behind, because if you walked in and said, "I know this," everyone would be like, "Yeah, right." But if you know, if you have a back to it, like, or front to it, like Chinese astrology, you start talking Chinese astrology to people, then people relax. A lot of people know a lot about Feng Shui, or maybe not so much about Chinese astrology. They tend to go with the Western astrology. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with Western astrology. It actually overlaps with Eastern astrology. And it just fascinated me. And the mentor, Joey Yap, I worked with him, went on many of his courses and everything. And he inspired me, basically.
Very nice, very nice. Now, for our listeners, what is Feng Shui?
Well, Feng Shui means wind and water, moving water. So often when you have a Feng Shui consultant round, they say, place water here, place water in the garden here, like a pond or a water feature. In the house, I don't think water features work in the best of way. So I tend to put a fish aquarium in. So every year, this is going to be a little bit technical, but every year there's these. So you have the house, and it's made into 9 different sectors. So in the south, it's about being famous and being in touch with yourself. So that's where you would go and sit if you wanted to meditate. The southwest is all about the relationship area. The west is about creativity, making babies. The northwest is all about helpful people coming into your life. The north is about your career. The northeast is all about wealth, which is nice. East is about romance, and southeast is about good fortune. So every year, different stars fly around. There's 9 of them, yes, and some of them are auspicious, and some of them are not so auspicious. So every year I go to my clients and I find the most auspicious stars, which auspicious means favourable, and I'll move their, say they're working from home, they have an office, I will move, they may have to move their office, which is a bit drastic, but it's been known. Or I may move the facing of their computers or whatever. For example, I have a very large client, so she's got a big factory, but she works now from home for obvious reasons. So I set up her credit card machine, her computer, her whole house has been set up to bring in wealth and happiness into her house. So I go back every year. So being who she is, I needed a lot of water. So what she did is, outside, she built the biggest, what's that thing that you get in the tub with water? What's it called? Can't think what it is now. Where you...
Oh, you mean like one of those, you said a tub with water that you get into, like the cold water, or?
No, hot water, bubbling.
Like a hot tub?
Hot tub, yeah. Sorry. I unfortunately caught something, and my sometimes I forget words. So we have to play a lot of games with that. So she built this massive hot tub, and as soon as she put it on, they got loads of money.
Wow!
I mean, literally loads of money, and every so often it comes into play, and she's like, oh, we're not making as much money, and then we do things with the water tub. So there's different ways of doing it. But also, Feng Shui is very much about not having clutter in a certain area. I'm sure you've heard about that, have you?
Yeah, I have. Yes, I have heard of that, yes.
and often, like, I remember going to someone's house up in London, and she wanted to meet a person. She wanted to meet a man, right? So I walked in, went straight to where the relationship was, and it was a bathroom. And it was decaying, and she said, I just don't like that room. I don't like that room. I don't know what it is I don't like about it. And I was like, well, that's where your man is. And she was like, what? I said, you're going to have to redo the whole bathroom. And she balked at the thought of it. But in fairness to her, within 3 months, she'd had it done, and she met a man and moved to Brighton.
Oh, wow. That's very interesting.
So I've been doing this since 2005, so I've got plenty of stories.
Yes.
But it's an intriguing subject, and it's becoming more and more as we get into our new worlds. It's becoming more and more that people tend to use it. I mean, I use it all the time. I use it all the time. Yeah.
So you would say it would help us to use it in our everyday lives?
Everyday lives, absolutely. It's one of the I've written a book, but that doesn't come out for 10 months because they decided to go with book number one first, the Chinese astrology. But the Feng Shui one comes out next year, this year, at the end of this year.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, it's amazing. I've been doing it for so long, and but I mean, if you ever think about yourself, when you don't feel very happy, nothing seems to go right, does it?
Right.
But if your house is a mess, or you have stuff that you don't really need in it, but you can't let it go, that actually affects you. And decluttering, which is a whole new subject, is probably one of the quickest ways to get the energies moving. It's not about dusting, it's about moving.
Yes. get rid of a bunch of stuff. I totally get that, 100%. You tend to collect a lot of stuff over time, and yeah, I think it can affect you tremendously.
It's very hard for people to let go of things, you know.
Oh.
They sometimes, like, their grandmother might have given them something, and you think, oh, I've got to keep it, or someone's giving that random present, but because it was them, you keep it. And my thoughts on that is just move on to someone that will actually use it. You know, that's a big thing. But obviously, Feng Shui is a little bit more deeper. I'm making it very top surface here.
No, that's completely fine. Now, another part of your book, you talk about, this one is about Chinese astrology. Now, what is it and how long has it been around for?
Oh, gosh, it's a bit. Chinese astrology is, so Western astrology does the planets, Chinese astrology does the stars. And when Chinese astrology started, it's when they used to use the stars to have wars. You know, that's where Chinese astrology started. They all had their Chinese astrologer, and he would tell them the best time to go and have war and what direction. So then it matured into what we know now is all the 12 animals. So we're all born under an animal, and the year we're born, that animal is all about our friends and family. Okay, so that'll tell you all about your characteristics. And in the book, I've taken all 12 animals and I've given all the characteristics, all the pluses, few of the minuses, the lucky numbers, the lucky days. And then what I've done is, because it's called Date, Love, Marry, Avoid, and I've done a lot of studying into this, Alison, a lot of studying.
Yes.
And basically, there are certain animals that get on really, really well, and there's some animals that don't.
Yes.
And so hence that's the avoid bit, yeah?
Yeah. I liked reading those.
So I did a lot of study about it over the last 5-6 years. And then I thought, you know, I can't see anything out there. So I'm actually going to write something. So the book, what I've done with the book is I've given each chapter on each animal, so that if you wanted, you don't have to just use it for finding a partner. Sometimes, I mean, people that I've known, because it came out December the 8th and January 1st in USA, have just taken it to Christmas parties, and they've said they can understand why they get on with their friends and why they don't get on with other friends and that sort of thing. So it's quite multi-purpose, but it's called Find Your Soulmate. And also, how about this for an example?
Yeah.
Someone bought this book. For 2 years, they've been on a dating app and it's just not working. Anyway, they decided to ask everyone, are you a rat? So they knew that was their animal. Anyway, I mean, I haven't been on a dating app, so I don't know. But anyway, basically, she texted me and she's been on a date 5 times with this guy now. And she's never, ever been, so she's a very happy girl. So she likes the book. Yeah.
Yes.
So in the book, what I've done here to make life so much easier, with the 12 animals, I've broken down exactly how you get on with them. So I can't ask you on the air what year you're born in, but what animal are you?
You know, I don't remember. I read it in the book. I mean, I don't care. I can tell you what year I was born. I have no issue with that. I was born in 1983.
Oh, right, a pig.
Yes, right, so that's right. Yeah, a pig. Yes, I remember that. Yes.
So you really get on with people like tigers, okay? Because pigs are very kind and giving, and they would actually give, if someone was sitting on the street and wanted some money or something or a sandwich, they would give it, yeah? So you get on quite well with the tiger, because the tiger person is so forthright. They're out there doing their own thing, whereas you'd rather be at home making sure everybody's okay. And the other thing about a pig is they like to have their own time.
Oh, yes. For sure.
So what works for you is a tiger who spends most of their time out. But then when you come together, your attributes come together and you make a really good couple. And that's how the book works. So all my knowledge has gone into that, about who you should be with, who you shouldn't be with. And I've even given you dates that you should go on.
Oh, yes. Yep.
Make it really easy. So thing about pigs, they quite like knowledgeable things. They like to learn knowledgeable things. They'd be quite happy walking around a garden with unusual plants and lots of fish and doing their own thing. But also another thing about pig is they're very techie. So they like to have all the latest up-to-date gear. iPhone 15, Total Mac, completely, all that. So what I've done here is, if you are thinking of dating someone, you can go and check that those people have got exactly what you want in their chart.
Oh, huh.
So that's the fun bit about it.
Yeah. Now, you kind of gave a description of mine, but you also talk about in your book how each animal has elements attached to them. How can you tell which element you belong in? Okay,
so what I've done is I've done each animal with every element so that you would know. So you see, like, people like rats and pigs are water elements. So you can see their characteristics. They're really good with music. Like you're doing a radio show, that sort of thing. And I find elements are really, really important when you match people up. People like who are metal elements. So, it goes fire, earth, metal, water, wood. So way I've written the book is matching up all the elements as well, because I think that's super important. If you're out of sync with your element, if you had a horse going out, which is a fire element, going out with a monkey that's a metal element, that means that the horse would always have control of the monkey and it would never be happy. Why did you ask about elements? Is that something you...
Oh, no, it was just interesting because I hadn't heard that in the astrology. Like, there was different elements and there was all these matches. I was like, I had no idea. So that's why I asked, because I knew nothing about that. It's like, man, I didn't know there was all these different steps to it. So that's why I asked about it, because I was just very interested in that, because I hadn't heard that part of the astrology, So you go into a Chinese restaurant and they give you the little thing and it just shows the different animals or whatever, and that's all I thought there was to it. Like, so that's why I was like, okay, there's more to it than that. So
and all the elements, if you use an element, you can easily see, when you see water, you're going to be dealing with somebody who likes to go with the flow, doesn't like to be trapped or anything. If you go with someone with earth, they like very basic, like goats. They like to negotiate. Like Richard Branson's a goat. He spends his time like negotiating things. That's the thing. Then you go to metal. I'm trying to think of someone famous that's with metal. The wood element are usually counsellors. If you have wood in your chart, you can be quite a good counsellor. So that's people like rabbits and, again, tigers. And then we have our passionate ones like fire, which are horse and snake. So, and then you can sort of, it's like diluting it all down to get the characters and all this sort of thing. So, that's how it's done.
Very cool, very cool. Now, how did you come up with the name Date, Love, Marry, Avoid for your book?
Oh dear, I don't know. It's really funny, because when I write books or I write, I run courses and everything, I have to find the name first, right? I don't know why, and it just, I don't know. It just started to work with me, and as soon as I got it, I could then write the book. So it came like out of the blue. It wasn't like I thought. It just is like the book title came. And then I got them to I got my designer to do the cover, and then I wrote the book, which evidently is the wrong way around to do it. But that's the way I do it.
Yeah. I don't know if there's a right way or wrong way to do it. Now, also in the book, you talk about, which ones make good pairs, which ones should avoid each other. How can you tell the difference?
Obviously, until you got their date of birth, year of birth, then that gives you the absolute thing. I mean, the year you're born in is your friends and family. The month you're born in, it's all about your career. Yeah, so that animal could be different to the year animal. Oh, okay. The day you're born in could be a different animal to the other two. That's your relationship with your partner. And the hour you're born in, which is what I work with when I work with the big companies, is your wealth.
Oh, okay.
So my job basically is, depending on your date of birth or the company's date of birth, then that's how I start to work with it. If I'm working with people who, you know, I had a lady. This is actually quite a good story. I'm
sure.
I'm a bit of a storyteller.
That's fine.
So I'd been brought into her house, and she'd met her husband when she was really young at school. They'd had 20 years together, and then unfortunately he passed. So, you know, she was only young, like late 30s. And her family had said, oh, you know, you need to go out and meet someone. So I got brought in, and she said, oh, you know, you've come through a referral from a friend, and I really would like to meet someone, but, you know, I'm too shy to meet somebody, you know, blah, blah, blah. It just went on. Anyway, we found out where the relationship area in her house, and there was a wardrobe in the corner, and she'd kept all her husband's clothes, and it was in there. So you know where I'm going from here.
Yeah.
So in the end, we took she took all the clothes out. She found homes for them. She had to paint a wall red, and that was just making her do something, because emptying that, we had to like renew it. Anyway, she about 3 weeks later she contacted. She said, "You're not going to believe this," and I was like, yeah, come on then. And she said, "I was doing my shopping in Sainsbury's," she said, which is an English shop. And she said, "I came across this guy, and we'd gone to school together, and his wife had died from the same illness as my husband."
Oh, wow.
And we're now seeing each other. We started to, you know, it hadn't matured into anything, but they'd started to see each other. And she said, "I was so scared on going on a date, but actually it was really easy, because it was somebody that I had known from school."
Oh,
So Feng Shui has a very funny way of acting. It listens to what you want. She was too scared to go on a dating app, and it just sent someone that she knew from her past. So it's an interesting concept.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Now, how does this astrology help with wealth?
Right. So, like, as we go back to where I originally said that they use the astrologers for war, they use something called date selection. So there are special dates, which obviously I know. I know all these years as well, this year's as well, 2024, that work with your particular hour that you're born in and your chart. So say you were born on the 3rd of September 1957, and you were born between 11 and 12 at night, then rat would be your wealth animal. And what I would do is look up all the dates that would make you money. Now, you have to action it. You have to have something to sell, something to do, or in mind what you want. Yeah. If you're working with a company, often they will use the dates that I give them to launch a product. I'm pretty certain that Apple has a Chinese astrologer. Because every date that they bring out their new ones, their new phones are always auspicious. And I genuinely think, I mean, you know, I don't know a lot about its history, but I think somewhere along there they've got a Chinese astrologer. I could actually bet on it. Somewhere there, yeah. And if you see the way Apple's set up in New York, although I haven't been there for a long while, it's the whole of where the people sit is really nice. The same, I watched some articles on Facebook on the guy who runs Facebook, where the people work, the campuses, they're all set up. So I really do believe that Chinese astrology and Feng Shui have a lot to do with the success of some of the biggest people that we know. And we know that the banks in China are all set in certain positions to make their money. So as a Chinese astrologer, my job is to make people money, basically.
Yes, yeah, and you have set up, and you do products too, right?
Yeah, I every year I have a yearly product, which this year is called Snapshot, and basically it's got every single animal. It's 350 pages long. It's got every animal, every auspicious date for them. One thing I call Red Knicker Days. The reason I call it Red Knicker Days, everyone says, "Oh, like that," goes, but it's a day where Chinese believe not only red is well, they also believe it's for protection. And there's certain naughty days every year. And with my clients, they like to know when they are. So in this particular product, it's got the red knicker days, but I make it really nice. And then the destruction days, and everyone goes, oh, destruction days. But destruction days are really good because that's when you close businesses or end relationships or things like that. So the whole product has the whole year with all the auspicious dates worked out for every single of the 12 animals. And then it gives a yearly overview for each animal and a monthly breakdown for every animal, so they know what's ahead of them. So that came out actually 2 days ago. On Friday I finished it.
Oh wow! Oh my goodness, you are busy right now. Oh my gosh, my brain would be exploding with having to figure out all that stuff. I mean, I don't know why.
I think the thing is, like, I have this is the time of year all my retainer clients come on. So what I do is I work my hardest from November through to about February, March, and then I tend to take my foot off the pedal a bit. Saying that, every time that's happened, I've written a book, but I'm not going to write a book this year. That's it. I'm done with writing books.
Oh, yeah, because this book here just came out at the beginning of this January, correct?
Yeah, and they picked the other book up about 4 months ago straight away. So that's now going through the process. When you go with a traditional publisher, it's a long process. I don't know. Have you written a book?
I have not written a book. No, I haven't. I just can only imagine the process. I've had a lot of authors on, so.
Yeah, so I was lucky. It's gone with the traditional publisher, and I have a great team. I have a great team over there, but I've had to get it to a point and then have to wait, and they go, right, it's coming out in October. And then you've got all that build up to it. So, I never saw myself as an author. At school, I always wanted to be able to write, but I spent too much time looking out the window. So, so now I've actually done, I'm happy. I've done my 2 books. That's it.
I tried to write a book in like middle school, and I have it somewhere. It's not finished. And that's as far as I've ever gotten.
Do you know, I think the answer to an author is to have the best coach in the world. I had a coach for both books so that I would do it. So she really pressured me. Do you know what I mean? If I was left to my own devices, I don't think I would have got it done.
Yeah, but I couldn't either. I have a very short attention span sometimes. I'm a very high-strung person, believe it or not. And so, I'm always on the go. So for me to sit down and do something, sometimes I get lost in a whole other world. So, I get distracted very easily.
I totally know. Shall I tell you why? Because my son is the same year as you.
Oh, really? That's so funny.
So he can be diverted off to something, and if things aren't going as quick as he's bored. Like, I'm off there. I'm going to do something else. So having grown up with him, it's been an interesting, but very spiritual. Very loves the paranormal. Mum, have you watched this? And I'll be like, no. Oh, I've saved it on Apple for you. You can watch it on there. So we follow all the American Horror Stories and all this stuff like that. Yeah. So I that is my life.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. So that's so funny because I am a spiritual person too, and obviously Kim and we are paranormal investigators and things of that nature. So we've been doing that for a very long time. I've had, I've grown up with it, talking to spirits and things like that. I didn't know that at the time. My mom filled me in on what I would do, and so that's kind of how we got started in all this. So. Yeah.
So do you go around to houses then? We
don't really do a lot of, houses, but we go to locations like asylums or jails.
Wow.
And things of that nature. The Villisca Axe Murder House is a very notorious one here in Iowa, where there was a family and 2 neighbor girls that were murdered by an axe one night, and they never found the killer.
Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's kind of the places we go. So
I'm going to have to give this podcast to my son because this is his thing. He watches a paranormal thing on, I don't know, maybe Netflix or whatever. It'll be a channel that he'll probably Apple, knowing him. But yeah, no, he's really, really into it. I mean, I definitely, I know we're going off piste here, but I definitely get energies beside me.
Oh,
absolutely, 100%. The cold is unbelievable. I'm not a medium, I'm not that, but I know when they're here, you know, and I, during my life, the most weird stuff has happened. But I think that's because like you, I was open quite young to it. My father was very much like this. And I saw myself on my driving test drive out of the driving test. I was standing there watching myself drive out.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh my God, so I've got to get back in that car. I'm meant to be driving it.
I think most people do have the abilities and things, but some just aren't in tune with it. You know, they may not care to, or they just don't, you know, acknowledge it or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I've just always been that way.
Yeah. My mum was frightened of it, so that's why it was closed down in my house completely. So it's quite nice when I got to like 18 and left home and was able to do it. But can I ask you a question? I know you'll interview me, but so when you go to the jails, do you actually see anything or move things moving or?
We've been to Missouri State Penitentiary and we've been to the Squirrel Cage Jail. Squirrel Cage didn't really get a whole lot there. Now at Missouri State Penitentiary, we used some devices. We have one that's called a music box, and so when something walks in front of it, it lights up and it plays music. Now they had just recently dug up these very old cells. I mean, they're like very old wooden outside, and that's where we got the activity with the music box, which was pretty interesting. We have seen, you know, shadow play and things of that nature, but nothing really moving at the jails. Now Malvern Manor, which was an old hotel, turned into kind of a old folks home / people that were mentally not stable were put in this place. There's a room up there that we were actually on a live feed, and I think Kim has it on her Facebook page. We were moving a little ping pong ball around, and you know, the floor does kind of have this one thing, but we were trying to just see if we could get it to come back to me. So I roll it under this table or this whatever, and it goes around a little toy train like looking thing, a little one thing, goes around another object. Then I'm sitting by the closet door, which is open like this, so it went around the door and came back to me. So I was explaining it to somebody who had just joined the live feed. There was this doll on there that I had gotten vibes from, and a couple of weeks prior to that when we were there, its head had moved. It comes off this little desk thing, not head first, feet first, and it's a porcelain doll.
Oh no, Annabelle. Oh my goodness.
And you hear me scream, and I scared everybody. Everybody was like, oh my gosh, what just happened? Like, it was insane. It was, so now the guy who owns the place actually keeps it, its legs shattered. So the next morning, Kim super glued his legs back together, and he has it in a case, and it has, it's been blessed. It has a thing from the Vatican and everything. And earlier this year we were back, and he's like, I have a surprise for you guys. And I'm like, what? And as soon as before I even look in the door, I got this feeling. And I'm like, oh no. And I looked and I'm like, oh no, he brought it out for us. And it did move again. We had several people in the room, and the REM pod was going off with it. Yeah. That was probably our most, like...
So the spirit was still in the doll then?
Something was attached to this doll. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. very weird.
Rather you than me, but my son would love all that. I remember going to a cabin in the woods and he said, "Oh, watch Annabelle, Mum. You'll really like it." Oh my goodness.
Have you watched that before you go up to a cabin in the woods?
No.
Oh my gosh.
I was able to collect I was with my girlfriends, we had our dogs, and I was able to collect my Netflix to the TV there, and I just put it on. But we had to watch to the end to make sure that the doll, that it was all okay, but it was never okay. Right? It was never okay. Rather you than me, but no, I must tell him about this. This is amazing. Yeah,
absolutely. So, I know we got a little derailed there and everything, but I know you had talked in your book that, you're kind of intuitive, in tune with different things happening and things like that. So, before we wrap things up though, I had another question about if you wanted to become your own, like you wanted to be a consultant for Feng Shui. What's your advice to somebody who wanted to
get in touch with me? Because I've got a school.
Yes, that's right. Yes, you do. Yeah,
I do. I have a school, and because of the Feng Shui books coming out later in the year, whereas I've been running it as a beta group, I've now got 7 Feng Shui consultants out there. I'm going full on. Everything should be live by April, so people can go online. But I don't like it just online. But obviously, if you're abroad, it's harder to do. But I'll always have people so they can come in for question time. But also, I'm going to do, obviously, I'm in the UK, but I'm going to do week's courses here so you can come out as a Feng Shui. It's accredited so that you actually have something that you can get insured for, etc. So, yes.
Very nice.
That's a great question. So, yes. Just email me and I will help you. And if you love houses, if you love people, it is a great job. It's I wouldn't even call it a job. It's people talk about side hustles. It doesn't have to be a side hustle. It can become a full-time. Obviously it takes you a couple of years to get known.
Right.
And then every day is an adventure when you go to all these different people's houses. Obviously every year I go back to a certain amount of people's houses, but it's taken me to so many places. I only went online in 2020 for obvious reasons, and until then I didn't. And I think what happened in 2020 enabled me to write my books. So it can't all be bad, can it?
No, it cannot be all bad. Now, you said that people can get in touch with your email. Do you have like a website or any social media that they could also reach out to you? Okay,
so my email is janine@janinelowe.co.uk, and my website is www.janinelowe.com. Easy. Janine Lowe everything. If you put Janine Lowe in, you tend to find me. I also have a Facebook page that's got 252k people following me, and that's just Janine Lowe Feng Shui.
Okay, perfect. Writing this down here. All right. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on. And also, where can people purchase your book, Date, Love, Married, Void?
It's come out. It's just been released on Amazon.com, but I think it's in other shops that but I don't know their names over there. Sorry.
Oh, yep. Nope. That's okay. I'm sure it's probably at Barnes and Noble, Amazon.
That's it.
Yep. Wherever you can find your books.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me. It was a pleasure. This was very awesome. I really enjoyed the book. Getting more in detail, knowing that it's more than just the animals. There's a whole bunch of parts to it, and also it's not just for relationships, it's for many other things in your life. So thank you for giving us that insight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on. I've enjoyed it. I've learned lots as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, thank you everybody, and peace out until next time.